Like postcards if you want to take a postcard. I have stickers if you want to take a sticker on the table. And I'll be talking more about this book tomorrow at Barnes & Noble from 1 p.m. in Loveland, or on Sunday at Denver West, Barnes & Noble at 12 p.m. So if you have more questions, or if you want to come say hi or get a signed copy, that's all optional. But yes, my name is Claire. I wanted to come and talk to schools around Colorado because when I was your age, sitting at my high school down in Denver, I was daydreaming about getting a novel published, and now I'm here. So I wanted to talk about that. Yeah, thank you. I spent about 5 years from writing this novel to having it totally completed. Some of you have heard this story already, so I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell it again. I like to think that, usually writers, we get ideas from all over the place, oftentimes something really random, and this came out of a very strange series of events for me, this novel. In 2014, in November, I had a friend who was going to a metal concert. I really like metal, I don't know if you can tell. And my friend's spouse couldn't go to the metal concert, and so I got the free ticket. This metal concert was done by Sabaton. They do like power metal based off of history, and I really love history. So I went and I had a great time, and one of the songs they sang was called Night Witches. And I thought, this is a really cool song. So I went home and I listened to it some more. And then I thought, oh, I should read up. Who are the Night Witches? And I looked them up. The Night Witches were a group of women from the USSR, Soviet Union. You're getting really excited?
Yeah, I know who they are.
You know who they are? They are so amazing. I'm so excited you know. Yeah. They were a group of women in the Soviet Union during World War II who were hired to fly night missions to bomb the German front lines at night during World War II. And they flew extremely outdated training planes. They flew biplanes when the Germans had the most advanced army at the time. Their planes were so slow that the Germans couldn't actually catch them, because if the Germans slowed down to catch them, their engines would stall. And they flew so low to the ground that Germans could shoot them with a rifle from the ground and shoot their planes and kill them. And they would fly these bombing missions. They would fly up to 18 missions a night. And when the war was over, they'd flown all these missions. Many of them had been given the highest military honor you could earn in the Soviet Union. And the Russians closed the doors and didn't talk about them for years. They tried to forget that these women ever existed. And I thought that that was so horrible. And I thought that it was so interesting that I wanted to write a book about it. And I turned it into a young adult fantasy, because that's what I love to write, is fantasy. It also means that I can be historically inaccurate and no one can yell at me. It's a good thing. So I decided to write a book about two girls who get recruited to fly magical planes and to show the male compatriots they have in the army that they can do just as well or better. So, I wanted to write a story that had lots of friendship in it. I don't know about you guys, but when I was in high school, I wasn't big on romance, so I didn't want to write a book with a lot of romance in it. So I wanted to write a book about girls who became friends and fought bad guys and fought each other a lot and still came out of all of it doing okay. So, yes, I spent 2.5 years drafting this novel, and then I edited it. Editing is the biggest thing that you can do as an author. It's the most important thing, and it's the most horrible thing you can do as an author as well. I hate it, but it's very important to do. So, I then decided I wanted to get it traditionally published. If you want to traditionally publish a book, there are a lot of different things you have to do. One of the big things is finding a literary agent. Your literary agent is somebody who basically opens doors for you. I think in the last one I compared it to if you are friends with the friend of the boss, then you're more likely to get a job from the boss, right? And it's your literary agent's job to be friends with the boss for you. So, I went out looking for a literary agent, found a literary agent, we edited my novel again, and then we went out looking for publishers, the literary agent like sent out things to like my manuscript to publishers. She said this person is so cool, you definitely want to work with her, she has this great story. And in the end, we got publishers who wanted to actually work with this book. And they made an offer of publication, and we talked about what we wanted out of it. And we decided that we were going to work together with Little Brown to publish this novel. Little Brown has done Internment, just came out by Summer Ahmed. Yeah, everybody in the last class was playing that as well on that one. But if anyone likes fantasy, Holly Black, Little Prince, and Ruth King, Little Brown does her as well. They're the best people ever. My editors are cool. And then we edited the novel for 6 more months, and it came out on Tuesday. So the whole process with my publisher took about 1.5 years. And that was one of the things that I never expected when I started writing, that publishing takes forever. Everything in publishing is such a long process, and something that you'll never really be prepared for it until it hits you in the face, but it's nice to at least know it in theory beforehand. So that was how my journey ended up leading me here. On Tuesday the book came out, and then a year from now, I'll have my second book out with Little Brown, which will hopefully be just as exciting. And maybe I'll be able to give you more words of wisdom. I don't actually know. At the moment I feel quite foolish. I'm like, I don't know anything. But welcome to adulthood, that's what it's like. So depressing. Anyway, that's my prepared sort of speech. I think maybe you have questions about the whole process? Yes.
Okay. So, what did you research? What did you research for this book?
What did I research for this book? How much research did I do? I researched every time I got bored of the book. So that's one of the great ways of keeping motivated. I researched the Night Witches a lot. There are now a lot of books out and available to read about these women. I researched a lot about Russia during World War II. That was something I never actually studied. Like when I studied it, like World War II history in high school, we studied a lot about the American side, and I never got the Russian side, which is really brutal. So I researched, one of my main characters is a double baloney amputee, so I researched what that's all about, how you use prosthetics, and how you take care of yourself when you have all of that. She's actually based off of a real person who was a pilot and a double baloney amputee, so that was cool. I researched him as well. So lots of different things come into researching. Geography, when you're writing the setting, and history, when you're trying to change rules and figure out how things are the way they are. And I love getting inspiration from all these different people, so I did a lot of research on that. Cool. Yes, I go to you and then you first. Okay. I don't know what to do with that. I was wondering, as I've tried writing a few times, and I have found that I cut her out around chapter. So how do you stay motivated? So, how do I stay motivated to get through writer's block? So, there are 2 things that I do. One of the things was I would start researching again, because I would get so excited and so angry reading about these women that I would want to go back to it. And the second thing I did was, it was always my dream to be a writer. And so I was a bit hard on myself. I would say every day I sit down and I don't do anything, then I'm not fulfilling my dream. I'm letting it slip away one day at a time. And I don't really recommend that for people who have anxiety or depression. That's a terrible outlook on life. But other writers I know who do have anxiety and depression definitely suggest like having a positive outlook. Like if I do this, I can have a reward. I can go make cookies or whatever. So there was one more thing I wanted to say about it, and I forgot. So I might come back to this question. But yeah. Oh, actually, I do want to say one more thing. I remember what it is, which is that like even writing a little bit, if you don't think it's going to be relevant, is super important. My favorite author once said to me that if you write 1 double-spaced page per day, nothing more, by the end of a year, you will have a 365-page novel. And so when this task seems like hugely daunting and you don't want to do it anymore and it seems like you'll never get there, if you write 1 page, you'll end up with a novel that's bigger than the novel I just wrote. And it's kind of like, it's one way to try and trick your brain into thinking you don't have to do that much, but you'll still like build up and you keep going. We're gonna come back to you.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about how do you become friends with rejection?
How do I become friends with rejection? I just saw Shade over and said, how do you become friends with rejection? I don't know yet. Rejection's a huge part of writing. I submitted my manuscript to 59 agents, and I got rejected by 53 of them. We submitted my published novel, or my, not published, but my manuscript to publishers. I think we submitted to like 7 or 9 publishers, and only 2 of them were interested in publication. And in fact, I say only 2, but this is really lucky, because I know some of my agents' other writers have gone through like 20 to 30 editors, and they still haven't gotten anyone to buy their novel. So the first thing is, if you can think of your work as something that was written by somebody else, you can be a little bit more analytical. You can look at rejection as something that's not personal. You can try and look at how rejection might contain some helpful feedback as well. Because one of the big things is that an agent, especially when you're trying to find one, or a publisher, it's not really their job to help us become better writers. It's their job to sell our novels when they're good enough. So definitely getting friends is a huge part of becoming like a better writer friends. And like the other thing is that most people say no for like totally different reasons that have nothing to do with you. So one agent said no to me because she was already representing a novel about the Night Witches, and she didn't want to have 2. Right. So a lot of people, like, they don't mean anything by it, and it's really hard to like remember that when 15 of them in a row have said no. But trying to keep a little bit of distance, I know that's hard. It's hard for me.
Yes. So my issue with writing is always finishing, so I can start it off great and then have trouble tying it all up. So how did you complete your novel, and like did you rewrite it multiple times, and like how did you feel after finishing it?
Yeah, okay. So how did I finish it up, and how many times did I rewrite it, and how did I feel after finishing it? So one major thing I did was I don't like to outline in advance. So I wrote like a bunch of scenes first, and then I had to put them all together. So I went and took some classes, because I'm a nerd, I like taking class. And there are a lot of like books and other ways to help. I think it's super important to like read a lot on the structure of writing, because like the structure of telling a story is not something that human beings intuitively know how to do. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of work, and I think in a lot of like writing clubs and critique sessions, people will focus on your sentences and not on the whole story, like as one big thing. I did a lot of research, and I learned how to make an outline, and then I made an outline to finish it up. It felt so amazing to be done. It was so beautiful. It really like, you get this huge feeling of accomplishment because you have accomplished something really major and something that a lot of people want to do but don't. So I definitely say go for that feeling. It's totally worth it. And we edited this novel 10 million times, in my totally unbiased opinion. But I would say I edit as I go, so I spend loads of time editing while I was writing. I edited it 1 time before trying to find an agent. I edited it while I was trying to find an agent. My agent and I edited it, and I edited it 4 times with my editor. Yeah, it was terrible. In the best possible way. Like, we made this book, in my totally unbiased opinion, amazing, but I wouldn't have been able to do it without my editor as well. So editing is more important in a lot of ways than drafting in the first place, than putting down your first draft. On the other hand, you cannot edit something that doesn't exist. So putting down that first draft is really important, even if you're sitting there writing it and thinking how terrible it is. And one thing that I think is really cool that another writer friend said to me is that like on the days where you hate what you're writing and like can't figure out what's not working and you sit there really depressed, and on the days where everything's going great and you're writing as fast as you can and doing all of this stuff, when you go back, you can't tell what you wrote on which day. Sometimes it's just really hard to get motivated and into it, but at the end of the day, you still have the same quality that you're working on. And it's worth it to remember it when you're feeling really depressed, that everything sounds like, that everything seems really bad. Like, it's not. It's just the frame of mind that you're in that day. I'm ready for more. Yeah.
Can you describe to us the process of finding an agent?
Yeah. Okay. So, can I describe the process of finding an agent? So, I love to borrow a book, any book, sitting out here. Thank you. So, when you want to find a literary agent, the first thing you do is you find one. You want to find one that like has represented books like yours before, likes the stuff you write, stuff like that. Doing research on an agent is a really good idea. And then you write what's called a query letter. And a query letter reads a lot like the back of a book. This is a sequel, but basically you'll say like, this is a character, and he's got this problem, and he has to face this problem, but if he faces this problem, bad things are going to happen to him. So in a way that's going to, like the same way that a back copy for a book is going to draw people in, you want it to draw an agent in as well. So you write this query. There are tons and tons of resources on how to write a query. So Googling it will like give you loads of information, and it will give you better like feedback and instructions than I can. Thank you. And then you send it out to an agent. Maybe you tell the agent like, I'm querying you because you're super awesome, or because you represent this writer that I think is the best person ever, or something like that. And then if the agent likes it, they'll write back and they'll say, send me more, like maybe the first 50 pages or something. And then you send it off. And then maybe they say, send me more, like the whole manuscript. And you send it off. And then if they really, really like it, then they'll say, let's have a phone call. And they'll call you up and they'll tell you, we're going to make great business partners. You should definitely work with me. I have all these great ideas for what your manuscript can be. And then you decide, right? Most writers ask they submit to multiple agents at the same time, which means that if one agent wants it, then maybe more will offer if you tell them, and then you can pick, right, who has the best idea for you. An agent is a really important business partner, so it's always super important to see what they want to do with your work and how they see it, so that you're both on the same page. Taking an agent, I've seen it last anywhere from 1 day to 3 years between, or 1 year between when an agent reads your query and when they offer you representation. So it's another thing, you never really know how long it's going to take, but it can take forever. And I think I took about 4 months to find an agent. I think my agent had my book for about 3 of those months before she read it and made an offer of representation. Do you have more questions about it? Is that good? It's good. Okay. Are you ready for more questions? I don't know how the whole process is. You good? I don't know.
I think we are.
We
I
have
don't know
a
what
few
time it
minutes
is.
before lunch ends, so.
Anyone else? There you go. We got a brave soul.
Yes.
Now we're done.
Yeah.
Oh, what house is she?
Okay, I call myself a Ravenclaw. I think that I have a lot of Ravenclaw tendencies. I am super nerdy. I like to read a lot. I love history, so I'm super into history and academic stuff like that. But I'd say like one of the major things about Hufflepuffs is we're very like puffy, and I love to sit on the couch with my blanket and my cats. Very Hufflepuff thing. And Hufflepuffs are very hardworking, and that is a total trait you need if you want to finish a novel. One of the other big things about writing a novel is most people have to have one other job while they're writing a novel. So sometimes it can be a lot of pressure to like do your regular job as well as you do it, write the next novel as well, and it comes in total handy. So awesome.
Any other questions? No one.
Cool.
No other brave souls?
That's okay.
Doesn't necessarily have to be related to writing.
No, you can ask whatever you want.
No?
If you guys do find questions like that you forgot to ask or anything, this is my email up here. You can always write to me. Oh yes.
For pacing of a book, how do you create or figure that out?
That's such a good question. That's such a hard question. For pacing, I don't. Honestly, my editor did it for me. So actually, that's one thing I want to say. So pacing is super hard. I haven't figured out the secret yet. When I do, I'll let you know. But one thing that I was advised by another author is that like if you do something like really really well, like characters or world building, dialogue, or things like that, then like you should work on making that as good as you can get it. You should work on making things you're not as good at, like pacing in my experience. Like you work on making that like okay, but you don't have to spend so much time. When people read the book, they're gonna remember the parts that are really good. And as long as you don't have huge problems or faults, they won't remember what wasn't as good. So the best thing I can suggest on pacing is to like get some books about like how to write, like how to tell a story, books on craft, and see if they help you. So far they haven't helped me on that very much, but I'm still working on it. So I'm sorry, I wish I could be better.
Oh, it's fine. You're doing great. You're doing amazing.
Thank you. You're doing amazing. You guys are amazing.
You're more amazing.
I know about that. Luckily for you, I get embarrassed super easily, so I'm right about ready to crawl under the table and wait for you all to leave. So Hufflepuff.
So relatable.
So relatable. So yeah, if you guys do have more questions, you're totally welcome to write to me. That's my personal email, which I check all the time, so that's fine. And feel free to take stickers and postcards, and I think we're gonna do like, I don't know, I'm gonna be hanging around here for a couple more minutes, I think. So if you want to come up and ask questions, that's also totally fine.
All right.
Sorry.